Hi, this is Jillian, and this is a drawing I did a while back for a contest that was being held on DeviantArt. I'm not sure if I won, if it's still going on. I'll let y'all know if I do end up winning, placing, whatever, in the future if I hear anything about it. I had fun, and that's the important part. Definitely still need to work on my coloring skills. I am trying, y'all. I think it's more of like a patience thing. Like, I'm getting better, and in some pieces I'm like, oh, it's really good. I want to make it into a print. Let's make sure it's as perfect as it can be. But in other ones, I'm like, yeah, it's just more or less a sketch. Like, I don't know that I really consider it a finished piece a lot of times, even if it technically speaking is. I don't know, that's just how I've always been with art in general, and like specifically with drawings. Like, I've never really colored too much. I've been one to more do the outlines and stuff, but I'm trying, and that's all that's important, and I'm getting better. Anyway, I wanted to share some more art stories with y'all today. Yay! These stories I was sort of reminded by a piece I did that I'll show at the end of this video. I did a painting for a friend for their birthday gift of Triton and one of his daughters. And it got me thinking about painting and like some of the art classes I've did with painting. One of the classes I took was in community college, and it was an oil painting class. It was the painting 101. And I'm going to call the teacher Miss Picasso. That was not her name, but we'll call her Picasso. Because Mrs. Picasso she liked abstract things. And that's not why I took painting. My brain does not think that way. Like, at all. Like, in the past year or two, I've been experimenting a little bit more with abstract type images, but for the most part, I'm not really a realism, but I'm more of a cartoonist, illustrative type person. And so for me to think abstractly, it just doesn't work. And like Miss Picasso, it wasn't her fault that my brain didn't function that way. And I still made a decent grade in that class, but I felt kind of lost. And I think that's really one of the very few times I felt real art jealousy. Because there was this woman who supposedly hadn't ever touched oil painting ever. And yet she was creating these beautiful pieces like what I would want to create. And mine looked like poo. Like, for real. They looked flat. I just hated the medium anyway. And maybe if I ever gave it a chance again, I wouldn't hate it as bad. But, I know that I'd want to try the more natural ones and, wear gloves and be in a more well-ventilated space. Like, this painting 101 was in a closed-off room. Like, I'm sure it was well-ventilated to a degree, but, I feel like you almost have to be painting outside with this stuff. Or at least for me personally, but I have, asthma anyway, and maybe it wouldn't have been as bad had it not been, 20 people using this like turpentine, which is poisonous, and these other, hazardous materials. But that's why I don't like oil painting. Like, it made my hands tingle. It never dries. Like, it takes forever and a day. And, like, that breaks my heart. Like, part of me always wanted to be able to do, like, the mastery paintings, like what Leonardo da Vinci and some of those other great artists did. Like, that's what the masters painted. Anybody on YouTube, they use like oil paints. And it's like my kryptonite. I can't. Like, Mrs. Picasso was fairly nice. She never said anything to me personally negative. Like, she gave helpful critiques. And she tried to help those who had never oil painted before, who were struggling more with the medium. But to me, it didn't click. And maybe if I tried again, it would click, but I had such a bad experience that it just, like, no. So, anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my other college classes. I took a 2D class, which when took it, I thought it was like the next level of drawing, or like where they were showing you some animation techniques or something like that, but it was just like, it's more like, at least for the class that I took, is more that you were using black and white, and it just had to be straight black and white. And again, it was more abstract. And they didn't even follow the book. He didn't follow the book. And at least we used a medium that I liked, and I discovered a paint that I did like. When I do paint, I typically use either watercolor or acrylic, and in that class we used acrylic. And I had made the mistake of buying iridescent white instead of like just straight flat white. And like, I liked the look of the iridescent, but that wasn't like the point, so I just kept it for like my personal use. And like, he made me paint with my left hand because apparently my pieces were too detailed. And like, I had a bad habit of wanting to shade stuff, and that was not the point of the class. The point of the class is to be, flats, basically. He was really nice for the most part, for what I can remember. We had a deaf student in there. She had a translator, and she was an older student. I want to say she was in her mid age, like probably like 40, 50, maybe 60s. I don't think she was 60. She was probably more like late 40s, early 50s. And she was really sweet, and like, apparently, like, at least according to her interpreter, who had been with her for like 2 semesters or whatever, she actually used her voice for the first time in that class, which, that was wonderful. And like, I thought that was such a speaking point in terms of like the freedom that art gives people. even if they don't necessarily have a quote unquote voice, they can find their voice in art. And like, she was a really nice lady from what I can remember. I honestly don't remember this lady's name. But I know we passed materials to each other all the time. Like, I had this brush that was a bit thinner that, like, towards the middle of the class I wasn't allowed to use because my pieces were too detailed. And the death lady, she borrowed it a lot because she liked the fine edge that it gave. And like, I told her what brand of brushes I used, and she seemed to like those. So that was fun. I don't think I ever took a watercoloring class. Like, in high school, we used watercolor a lot. And like, I've been trying to get better at watercolor, but it's not like my strong suit. My strong suit is more of acrylic painting. And like, everyone on earth like harps against acrylic painting. Like, if you know what you're doing with it, and you know, it's a good first medium, like, to practice with, and you can get some nice pieces from it. And you shouldn't harp against, you know, acrylic paint. Like, it's not the worst medium out there. Like, the worst medium out there is oil painting. I'm just saying. Like, for me, personally. And, like, I'm jealous of those who can oil paint pretty. One of the things with acrylic paint, if y'all ever do decide to get into it, wash your brushes all the time. Otherwise, like, acrylic paint, it's plastic. It'll mess up your brushes otherwise, so be careful with that. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, and talk to y'all later. Bye.